everybody. Welcome to Catlike Reflexes.
Catlike Reflexes.
Music to my ears. Welcome, everybody, to Catlike Reflexes. We are the PodCats. Today we have a bunch of returning podcasts. No, there's nobody new today. That we have Nahanni Bourne, Brendan Main, Derek Howard, and the last one, Ringo.
That's me.
Drew Parrott, everybody. And I am Bryan Piitz. I don't know if I said my name yet. On today's episode, we're going to talk about blind spots. We're not talking about the movie with Sandra Bullock and the big, tall football player.
I did think that we were actually going to
We were going to do that?
The Sandra Bullock movie.
We're going to have to dogpile that.
Oh, I'm sorry you could. Yeah, we're going to dogpile that.
It's not a
No, today we're going to be talking about movie. I guess it doesn't have to be movies, but in particular, we're talking about movie blind spots, and that is a movie that you haven't seen that is sort of part of the canon that everybody has seen before. If you tell somebody, you know it's a blind spot movie if you tell someone that you haven't seen a particular movie and they say...
And they yell at you.
And they yell at you.
Usually they get angry about it.
You've never seen...
Yeah.
Whatever.
As we were discussing the podcast right before we went on here, someone was saying, yeah, I haven't seen... And all of us were like, what? It's that.
So, yeah, exactly. So, everybody's got them. I'll start first because I have some embarrassing ones. I've never seen Jaws.
Huh.
And are you all, like, suppressing your urge to yell at me right
No,
now?
I haven't seen it.
No. It's interesting because some of these make sense. When you say to somebody, like, it's possible to have missed Jaws. I mean... It's also possible to spend the hour and a half to just go see Jaws. You know. So I mean, but it's one that makes sense. It's one that I think can be fathomed. There are some that don't make any sense.
Fathom.
And just kind of like, yeah, fathom. Oh, fathom is double up because it comes from the depths. I'm not gonna spoil the ending, but Shark was a ghost all along.
Right.
No, but I mean, so you haven't seen Jaws.
I haven't seen Jaws.
Is this one that gives you any shame?
I've seen the ending of Jaws because it's probably more famous than the rest of the movie.
When they got
that's when Super Jaws shows up.
When
right?
they got a bigger boat.
So I know that everybody talks about how like Jaws is so cool because you don't see the shark until the end. But I've already seen the shark, so do I just have to sit through a whole movie of no shark? Now I've already seen the shark.
Yeah, they have movies now where you have the shark and tornadoes. So I mean, you
That's
think to yourself,
true.
Why would I deprive myself of a boat?
And Sharkalinch.
Okay.
That's true, right?
So on this topic of having seen just the end of the movie, not the actual movie, and getting into the what? You haven't seen that? Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
I tuned in one night and it was like, oh good, the movie's on. And I turned it on and this kid's in the car and he's talking with this guy and it's just like, yeah, do you know that this is happening? Yeah. And then suddenly credits and I'm like, I saw the final 5 minutes of Sixth Sense. You want to talk about just the Shyamalan spoiler right there?
Yeah.
I just watched the end of it. I don't really need to go and watch the actual movie.
Can you just go and watch The Sixth Sense now? Is that a
Actually,
thing?
it's pretty good.
It holds up.
It does hold.
Going into it.
That said, I haven't seen it that recently.
I guess you wouldn't be like, oh, who would ever rewatch Citizen Kane? Now that we know the big Citizen... I mean, people still go watch Citizen Kane, knowing the
the sled was a ghost all along.
The sled was a ghost all along.
They got a bigger sled at the
They
end.
got a bigger sled at the end. They burned it too.
Yeah.
So you don't feel any... So, Bryan, as you say, it stands up. Sixth Sense stands up. But...
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I'm a little bit of a Shyamalan apologist, but only for the first couple films. Like, after that, he's on his own. But, like, I really like Signs.
Yeah.
And that's the one that... It's sort of like early Shyamalan people like, late Shyamalan they hate, and the middle is sort of where, like, people can go either way.
Where you can pull for it.
Where you can pull for it. I'm pulling for Signs.
You don't feel the same, like... affection for Lady in the Water, though.
You know what? I didn't even see it, but I did go see The Happening.
It
was terrible.
How could you not have seen Lady in the Water?
Or The Village.
Unbreakable was awesome.
Unbreakable was awesome.
Phenomenal film.
Yeah.
It's kind of not on people's radar sometimes. Nahanni, you haven't really said anything yet. Do you have any movies in your blind spot that you want to admit to?
I've never seen E.T.
Oh, okay.
I have never seen E.T. And I'm at that point now where I've had enough people say to me, "What? You haven't seen it?" That when it's on, I'm not going to watch it. I'm just I don't need to see it. I've made it this far in life. I'm just not going to watch it.
I've encountered that before, and it boggles my mind. I've seen it enough that there must be something to it. I knew somebody whose claim to fame was that she had never seen Star Wars, and her husband. Well, a lot of people have never seen Star Wars, but she's like, my husband my boyfriend at the time said, "I'm going to make you watch Star Wars," and I said, "You know what? No, you're not. I will never watch that." So if you talk to her about Star Wars, she's like, "Well, which robot is that? Like the gold one?" And it's like, holy shit, it's just not in your brain.
But
How did you miss that update?
Is that like the kid? Like, I won't name names, but there was the kid working at the museum who wears a lot of green.
Yeah.
And he was like, he saw a garbage can. And he was like, "Oh, that can is like Q9C39."
Yeah, it's like that
and it's
kid,
like,
yeah.
what are you talking about? Don't they teach you anything at
and
school?
he didn't get the update.
No.
Where they just download Star Wars into everyone's brain.
I know.
It's like,
But I think there's some times when you can't go back and watch them because I've never seen the Goonies. It's there's all these Goonies references, and I did go back and watch it.
Okay. I haven't seen the Goonies.
I watched Goonies. I watched Goonies in adulthood.
But I went back and watched it, and I just don't find the value in it. I think you had to be of that generation.
I think you're right.
It's possible, but I still maintain it's one of the greatest films ever.
I think there's a time when you can't go back, and I fear that for E.T. as well.
E.T. is Spielberg, though. It probably holds up. I mean,
There might be dated references.
I think E.T. was the first movie I ever went to see in a theater, but so much so that I don't really remember seeing it. I've seen bits of it since. I could probably do for a rewatch.
Well, I think what Nahanni says though about there's a certain age that certain works are going to resound with you. I mean, that's something that I feel very strongly, and sometimes you just miss your window.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, you know what? I'm going to read Catcher in the Rye at 40 and see if it gives me anything. And it might just not.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So again, with E.T., I mean, as Bryan says, it's Spielberg. So, I mean, I think because the Goonies was Spielberg produced, but I don't think it has
It was
that.
Richard Donner.
Yes.
Oh,
Richard
okay.
Donner.
Okay, this is Donner.
Lethal Weapon guy.
Yeah, okay.
Lethal Weapon, Superman, the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just don't find that, hey, you guys, very funny. Like a
Sharknado
lot of people
6.
do.
Yeah.
See, there's Drew laughing.
That's the better
Oh
one.
no, it was the Sharknado 6 comment. That's what I was
okay.
laughing about.
Drew, what do you got on?
Yeah,
the
Drew,
plate?
you're just that little bit younger than us, just a little bit.
Just a little bit,
Just
eh?
a few years that you are in a different bracket.
So he's like, I admit it, I've never seen Babylon 5.
No, I've watched Babylon 5.
Oh, okay, all right.
I'm a
they're
sci-fi.
making a prequel to that, eh?
Really?
Yeah, Babylon 4.
Nah.
Okay, so all right. So what are your blind spots?
Well, unfortunately, most of my blind spots are newer movies. Because the past year, I was going through work stuff and I wasn't really getting time off. So I never actually went and saw the new Hunger Games movie that came out. I went and bought it on DVD. It's still sitting in the plastic wrap at home.
I watched it last night, actually. It was pretty good.
Yeah. Winter Soldier.
You haven't seen that yet?
Haven't seen that yet. It's still sitting at home in the plastic wrap.
I'm surprised. Sorry, I'm just surprised.
No,
Not, I don't want to just say like...
You're a huge Captain America guy, right?
Yeah, exactly, because
Yeah.
Drew is a
Yeah,
big
yeah.
Captain America fan. Yeah.
You may remember Drew from episode 1 about Bucky.
No,
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
No, it was episode 2 when I was talking about it afterwards.
Go back and listen to episode 1.
Anyways,
We'll wait.
Days of Future Past. I have that still in the plastic wrap.
Yeah.
And it's just, now it's literally time to like, well, okay, I gotta sit down and watch them. I get wrapped up in other things.
When you have a new movie and it's sitting there, I find that sometimes so onerous. It's sort of like I have rented now. This is now for the third time I've rented Chinatown.
Oh, yeah.
And I keep it, and I think to myself, I'm going to watch this amazing. And then the
Wait,
library calls me.
where are you renting movies still?
Oh, pardon me. I took it out from the library.
Oh, okay, that's what I was saying. I was like, where are you renting? Where does
To-
the place
to-
still
to me,
have...
You can still import McNichol.
Oh,
You can
okay.
still rent movies in Port McNichol
Oh,
if you
okay.
want that experience.
I actually, just to digress for a moment, a few weeks ago, actually it was Captain America Winter Soldier. I hadn't seen it.
Okay.
I decided I was going to try Redbox.
Oh,
So
before they left.
I didn't know they were leaving because I was like, I'm going to try Redbox.
Redbox is gone. They just
Yeah,
Yeah,
I put
yeah.
it in. I paid $2 for a Blu-ray of Captain America, and I was like, this is great. And the thing popped up and was like, actually, by the end of this week, there will be no more Redbox in Canada. So I was like, great, I just discovered this cool
So
thing.
Redbox
now.
has just found us wanting.
Yeah.
Like the Redbox is here were a test and we failed it.
Yeah, pretty much. I think.
Well, no, even in the States, the red boxes are leaving.
Did
The red box is going...
Did
to-
Redbox fail us, or did we fail it?
It failed us.
That's how I feel about Taco Bell that we used to have in Midland.
No,
Yeah.
I
that's...
didn't go enough, so it closed.
Yeah, I
was
know,
you.
right? I
That
know.
was
It was me. I feel
yeah.
responsible for that one.
It's
I love
Taco
Taco
Bell.
Bell.
Yeah. Well, you know what, though? After that happened, I was like, I kind of like renting movies, because I used to just buy the Blu-rays or whatever, and it's like, that gets expensive, and you get a lot of movies you only watch once, so I've been renting from, like, Google Play and whatever. So I rented Thor: The Dark World a couple nights ago.
There's another one.
It was like $2 or whatever, $3 to rent it in HD, and I watched it.
Did
And
you ask
you're
for
only
your
ever going to
$3
watch that
back?
one once. It's not.
Did you ask for your $3 back?
No, actually, I think I got $3 worth out of it.
Okay.
You know what I
Alright.
mean? Like, it wasn't going to blow my... I wouldn't have gotten $25 worth out of it if I bought it. But $2.99 or whatever it was, it's
Right.
like, yeah, that's fine. And I just want to be caught up for
So what's
when
wrong with
Avengers
Thor
comes
2? What? How does it want it?
What's wrong with Thor 2? There's nothing really...
Don't get me started.
Nothing really...
Get started! What's wrong with Thor 2, people?
It's not... There's nothing
problem-
wrong with it, exactly. It's just that it's forgettable.
No, the problem is that Thor 1... let's rewind a
Are
bit.
you a Thor one?
You... Oh, it made me Thor.
Oh.
He started it. Yeah, show that photo on the website when we post this.
Ah,
We will share this picture of Thor. This is what is wrong with Thor 2.
Captain
It's a
America,
good Thor
Iron Man had come out.
cosplay.
Iron Man was a really good action
Stands
film.
out.
Captain America came out. That was a great spy film, and the films just kept coming. Hulk was a great little action film. When Thor came out, it was a romance. Thor 1 was a romance. It was packaged around some sort of Norse mythology. No, it was a romance.
Yeah.
And the entire thing was a romance, and that doesn't play, and it was horrible. And it's only because they had no female characters other than Black Widow, so they had to inject something into the mix, and you know what? It failed. So Thor 2 is the continuation of that romance, and that's why it fails.
because you're
It's
not
not-
romantic.
it's not a spy film. It's not an action film. It's not a beat 'em up. It is just a romance packaged around some characters who just get introduced, get beaten, leave the scene.
The pod race was pretty cool, though. So
Yeah, the podcast it was alright.
yeah. Anyway,
Oh, God.
Jabba's palace.
getting back to blind spots, that was my fault. Getting back to blind spots, I've had this experience, maybe you have too. We were talking just before the podcast about Die Hard. I watched Die Hard, what was it, last year? We watched
that's
it on,
right.
the,
We
on a big
watched-
screen at the
Yeah,
library.
which is amazing.
And I had never seen Die Hard all the way through. I had seen probably the whole movie in pieces on television over the years.
So it was a surprise when John McClane dies at the end, right?
Yeah, that's right.
He's killed permanently,
But-
never comes
Until they bring the bigger John McClane back.
So I don't think there were very few parts in that movie that I actually hadn't seen. Mostly stuff at the beginning, because if you're going to watch it on TV, you usually catch it in the middle. So I hadn't really seen much at the beginning, but that's sort of just a setup, and then, and that happens to me a lot. Like I movies that are on TV all the time. Has that ever happened to anybody else? Like Derek said, like he caught the end of The Sixth Sense on TV, and then it's like, well,
And
why
for
did you
me,
watch it?
I have a selective memory that lasts for about a decade, so it'll have to be a decade since that time that I can go back and watch it with fresh eyes going, oh, I didn't even notice, this is amazing. And that's with all the films that I watch.
Well, to be cool about The Sixth Sense, you can watch it knowing the ending, and it's just a different good movie.
Yeah.
So think of it that way. You probably wouldn't be disappointed to watch
But
it.
with the Shyamalan films, you kind of the benefit comes from not knowing. what
No,
that
you're
twist
exactly
is.
right. I
Yeah.
think that the ending of Sixth Sense has just been ruined. Like the statute
By
of limitations.
Andy
Oh,
Richter.
yeah.
On Conan the one time.
Yeah, that one time.
And everyone was watching.
I
Also,
haven't
the
watched
chick
it.
in the crying game is a dude.
I haven't watched
But you're fine, but-
Blair
but-
Witch.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen that.
No, that's true. I haven't seen it either.
I went and saw that opening night, midnight showing in Penetang
Wow.
at the Pen, and walking home from that. Yeah, that was a
For
great.
our out-of-town listeners, the Pen has been demolished and has another building on top of it.
Yeah,
now.
it's
So that's
got
how
another-
long ago it was.
It's got the Penetang town hall on it now.
Yeah.
So
and before it kind of did seem like it was demolished.
So
Yeah,
when you
back then.
when you walked home from the film that late at night, were you spooked?
Oh
or?
God, it scared the shit out of me.
You're like, oh my god, I hope Blair Witches aren't real.
Yeah.
I don't get bit by a Blair Witch.
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
I wasn't
I'm
even.
forced-
I was in. Oh, crap. When did Blair Witch even come out now?
Like 97
97
or 8? I don't remember.
98? Yes, like I was in either like elementary school or just starting high school.
How did you get in?
Yeah, never mind.
It was Pen.
Penetang.
Penetang, come
okay,
on.
fair enough. Fair enough.
Also, Drew is cousins with everybody in Penetang, so
Seems like it some days.
you can just get in. That would have been, if you saw it opening night, that sort of would have been that very short area of time where some people weren't sure if it was real or not.
Yeah.
Or supposed to be real.
That's right.
Well, how did you feel on that night? Were you
So
still
I
in
was thinking that night that it was a real,
a documentary.
a documentary. Yeah, I thought it was real. Like, it's like, okay, so this is something they found. Then a couple days later, it's like, reading up there, it's like, oh, f off.
And then you feel like an idiot, right?
Yeah. And you feel
But to
stupid.
be fair, that
So-
was kind of the first kind of film like that.
That's true.
That was
Yeah.
filmed as a documentary,
Yeah,
even though
okay.
it's faux.
Yeah, I felt the same way coming home from Ghostbusters. So don't feel bad. I thought it was real.
I heard stories that in the Midland Theater on the night that Empire was aired, people were coming out of the very first screening, and there was a huge lineup between the entrance and exit, and these people were passing by each other, and everyone was like, "Can you believe that Darth is Luke's father?" At which point, there's like groans through the entire line as the movie was basically ruined for them.
Like on The Simpsons?
The area of pre-spoilers.
Yeah.
It can happen both on Midland and The Simpsons.
Yeah, I know.
And that's
That's
what
what
That happened
that's-
there too.
And that's one of the things
Yeah.
that, you know...
Yeah, Homer ruins
I-
it for everybody.
I
That's
suppose
right.
that happened everywhere then.
First.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
the
a pretty
other-
big spoiler.
I haven't
One of the
seen
other things that's
Simpsons.
getting off
See, that's
topic.
one. When people mention The Simpsons, when you make a Simpsons joke, and there's like there's an amount of Simpsons that everybody knows that has to just be known by everybody, right? There's this sort of that block of Simpsons that's just in everyone's brain. And there's some people that just didn't get to watch The Simpsons because
Yeah.
because when so you didn't get it the first time through.
See, that's a whole. I lived in Europe in the '90s,
Okay.
so I'm missing The Simpsons. I'm missing. Like, I tried to go back and watch Kids in the Hall. I don't find it funny. You know,
Kinda had
it's
to
one of
be
those things
there.
you had to be there. I go back and watch Simpsons. I don't find it that funny.
Some of Laughing at Kids in the Hall I do think is pity.
Yeah.
So I'm not
Okay, fair enough. Because I'm wondering if because people seem like they're trying really hard to find them funny sometimes.
it's a strange mix.
Yeah.
The thing with Kids in the Hall is that the parts that are funny and the parts that aren't just aren't. So you kind of just have to make your peace with that.
And I guess they rebooted their show a few years ago again.
Sort of.
Yeah, kind of. They did some
tried.
stuff like the Kids in the Hall made a
Death
movie.
Comes to Town.
Yeah, that's
Death
right.
Comes to Town. That's what it was. Yeah,
It was okay.
Yeah.
So Kids in the Hall made a movie during their heyday called Brain Candy, and that's a comedy where I just do not laugh.
Yeah.
But then I remember it and I laugh. And it's sort of like, why is it
Mm.
funny in my brain, but not when I watch it?
I
like,
felt the same way about Gentlemen Broncos.
yeah, okay. So
Yeah,
there,
because I was watching it thinking this is 2 hours, I'll never get back. And then afterwards, and I think we talked about having this experience. You're like, that was kind of relevant. And yeah, I found it funny after the fact.
yeah,
It's like a
sometimes these things
neutral
mature.
milk hotel of comedies.
Cyclops over there.
Cyclops over there.
Cyclops over there.
What?
See, if you haven't seen the movie,
Yeah.
you don't know.
Spoilers though. Now in the Cyclops.
Cyclops over there.
Yeah.
Sam Rockwell.
Cyclops over there.
There goes my Saturday.
Recently, I watched The Godfather for the first time.
Right.
And I mean recently, like I got it for Christmas.
So you think that like when you see an orange, you think something good's gonna happen.
Right, and some movies like that are these huge, pieces of the canon are so well known, like the pieces of them are so well known,
Yeah.
everybody knows it's going to happen, that when I finally did watch it, a lot of the things that were supposed to be surprising just weren't. Like when the guy is like, I want to show you my prize racehorse. I love this horse. And I'm thinking, oh, I see good things for that horse. Because it's been parodied forever. It's
Yeah.
like, I think Sonny's going to make it. I
Yeah.
think he's going to get there and he's going to save his
Gonna make it to
sister.
the last reel.
He just has to go through that toll booth. This is going to be a short scene where he pays a nickel and just keeps on driving. Like, you know what's going to happen, right?
How
So
did,
you
how,
kinda-
how did you feel after watching The Godfather? You watched it now.
I did.
You
I
closed,
have.
you closed that little blind
Close that
spot.
hole. I closed that loop. It maybe sound stupid to say. It was pretty good. Like...
So you recommend The Godfather?
That's right, yeah. Like, there's nothing you can say if you're like the last person to watch The Godfather. Like, hey guys, have you seen this really cool movie? Like, of course it was good, and I enjoyed it, but I don't think I got the shock that people would have had when they saw it for the first time.
Did you appreciate it as a film, though?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And in fact, there's parts of it, I think looking at it that way as well, there's parts of it I probably didn't like, maybe more because I was aware of it. Like, I don't know, a good example would be like, just some of the darker stuff, and you kind of roll your eyes, because now it's kind of cliched, but when The Godfather did it, it was new.
Mm-hmm.
But now it seems like a cliche, so I kind of roll your eyes like, oh, wow, that's a cliche of mobster movies. But in this movie, it wasn't, so it's hard to reconcile.
It's hard to remember that The Godfather is not copying The Godfather.
Exactly, like every other gangster movie, kind of.
All right, I got a question. Does anyone have any blind spots they've closed up? So you watched The Godfather.
Yes.
I've been trying to catch up on all the Kurosawa films that
Oh, yes.
I can, and I still haven't finished all of them. But I mean,
Well, there's a
some
ton,
good
and they're all super long.
I know.
I actually, in the last few years, I've closed a lot of loops, because when I was a kid in the 80s, there were a lot of movies that my mom kind of wouldn't let me watch. She didn't want me to watch anything that was really, really violent. She kind of thought, she was, you know. So I didn't watch any horror movies. I didn't see any of those really ultra-violent movies from the 80s. So, like, I never saw Rambo. I never saw RoboCop. I still haven't seen RoboCop. I know.
I have the box set if you want to borrow it.
Yeah, but
It's great.
But then
It's
when
awesome.
I got a little older, actually when I first moved back to town here a few years ago, I was off work and my wife was working, so I was kind of just bumming around at home, and I decided I was going to watch all those movies finally that my mom didn't never let me watch in the 80s. So I watched all the Rambo movies in a row.
Nice.
I watched Conan the Barbarian and Conan the Destroyer.
The Thor 2 of Conan.
Yeah, exactly. There was probably a bunch of other stuff too, but like I really closed in some of those things, and so it was like a big flood of movies that I had been missing all these years, and now it's like, oh, I get it now. So that was nice, and I think everybody should have that. I hope everybody would have that opportunity as well sometime to just sit and just close those loops, because it's really.
I did it with the. I don't mean to interrupt here. I did it with the 25 top Criterion films of all time, and I watched them chronologically. So I actually watched Battleship Potemkin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, see, that's awesome.
Yeah. And I haven't gotten through all of them, but I've made a damn good attempt. I still haven't seen The Bicycle Thief. That's on my list. Anyways.
But The Bicycle Thief isn't a movie where you say, oh, I haven't seen The Bicycle Thief. And people go, you haven't seen The Bicycle Thief?
Granted.
Well, it is,
You know.
I mean, but let's say all of these belong to genre or culture. So, if, like, for example, I was watching Westerns and
Right.
hadn't seen The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Oh, I
So
see,
and
yeah.
I could talk about The Searchers, I could talk about 310 to Yuma, I could talk about...
We watched The Wild Bunch that
yeah,
time.
well, the Wild Bunch, right? So you can talk about all these things, but then you start talking about the spaghetti westerns, and people realize you haven't seen The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and then
Right.
they say, "Why haven't you done that?" If you're an art house person, if that's like your deal, and you've watched, all these French masters, and you watch these Italian masters, then I would think that it'd be like, what I haven't gotten around to seeing is The Bicycle Thief, Bicycle Thieves, depending on the title. And then you get that reaction, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody here is going to be like, I can't believe that you're not up on your Truffaut.
And it's a golden time right now for people who have all these blind spots, because you could just get almost anything.
Yeah.
Either on Netflix,
Netflix.
if you want to rent it off like Google Play or iTunes,
Yep.
or you want to get a copy off Amazon or whatever. Like there's just places most movies you can just get legally or otherwise.
Okay, closing
How
up
are you
the
gonna, how are you
blind
going to get movies illegally on the internet, Brian? How are you going to steal a movie on the
Dogpile.
internet?
I was gonna say you go to the Amazon warehouse and with a knife.
Between your teeth,
You
like
say-
Rambo.
You say, Jeff Bezos, come out here, and then he kills me with a drone.
Not inadvertently as it smashes India. Drew, closing up your blind spot.
I actually Battle Royale.
Wow,
Battle Royale.
good.
I
Okay,
actually
yeah.
closed that one up and watched that recently.
Oh yeah.
Good.
So it was supposed to be
That's the Japanese
Japanese
Hunger
Hunger Games.
right?
Exactly.
Oh,
I
really?
heard a whole bunch of my
You haven't seen this?
other friends were talking
I never
about
even
it.
heard of it.
I
I
have it all throughout your room.
Okay.
It's an
Yeah,
adaptation
I
of the
received-
manga. It's pretty cool, actually.
I received an internet copy of the movie. Air quote that.
Jeff
And-
Bezos lent you a copy?
That's right. Yeah.
So that
And I
works.
sat there and watched it. It was really good. I enjoyed
Yeah,
it.
it's cool.
So,
When I was a
good
kid,
stuff.
I watched The Princess Bride. And I made a mental note. I said to myself, I'm going to watch every movie that is like this.
Mm.
And then I got about 10 years on me, and I'm like, all right, bring it on. What are all the movies like this? And they're like, well, they don't exist. It is only this or movies from the 30s.
Right.
And now in my adult time, I'm like, wait a second. I can just watch all those movies. So I've been watching Errol Flynn movies.
Yeah.
I've been watching Douglas Fairbanks Sr. movies. I'm watching some of the remakes in the 50s when there was a brief revitalization of swashbuckler stuff. So the 50s, Scaramouche. I've just been like, every time I take Calling to York, I have 300 hours to kill. I've just been watching old movies.
Daffy
And I-
Duck's Scarlet Pumpernickel.
I haven't gotten there yet. That's someday. I did, however, I found a VHS copy of the 1930s Scarlet Pimpernel at the Salvation Army. So I just
Really?
have that. Yeah, I don't know how I found my way into that, but I'm going to be watching that soon.
Crazy.
And it feels great. It feels great to be like, I feel like I'm sending it back to like 16-year-old me. That's me
Yeah.
closing the loop. I'm like, here you go, buddy. Passing it back to you. Here's more Princess Bride for you.
I don't know if you guys have experienced this too. It's sort of the opposite of a blind spot, which is where you've seen a kind of well-known movie that most people haven't. Has you ever had that? Like, Brendan, we watched the Night of the Hunter.
Yes.
That time. Night of the Hunter is well known. It's the one where he's got love and hate on his knuckles.
Yeah.
That's the thing most people know about it.
Mm-hmm.
Most people, I would say, on the street, if you ask them, probably haven't seen it. But now that I've seen it, it's always like, oh, well, you know what? Have you seen Night of the Hunter? No. Oh, well, it's very good. Like, I kind of have that, like, opposite blind spot where I feel like a little bit better for having seen movies that other people haven't. And
But the thing
is that just me being a douche?
31 Chambers of Shaolin.
Nice.
That's me.
they're making a prequel to that, you know. No, but here's the thing.
It's called
is
District 8.
The idea that art makes us better is ancient and has not really gone away, and is actually kind of true. Like, it helps us through shit. It makes us think about things in ways that we haven't. And nowadays, there's a lot of elitism to that. It's sort of like, oh, surely not. Surely I'm as good as I'm going to get. It's like, no, there's a reason that you call it cultured when you get culture, you know?
Right.
Night of the Hunter is wonderful.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
like,
super good.
And, Night of the Hunter is super good and changes the way I think about noir and changes the way it makes me think about expressionism in film. Like, they just looked at what the Germans were doing and they basically said, one of those, please. And it's incredible the way they use shadows, the way that... And
It almost looks like it was made yesterday.
yeah.
In a way, like it's a little ahead of its time.
Mm-hmm. And it's dark as shit.
Yeah.
Like, it's terrifying. It's quite scary.
I'm going to have to ask
And
you
The scene with Shelley
Yeah.
Winters underwater, I don't want to spoil it if anybody's watching
I have
it,
not
but
seen
like,
that's
just that she was underwater. I'm not going to say what the
Wait,
context
someone's
is.
watching us? Where?
Dion.
It just,
Ottawa.
it's so haunting.
Hey,
I still
Dion.
think of it all the time. Anyway,
The thing is, there are certain things that you see, and you just become an acolyte, and you're just going to go into the world and just spread it.
yeah. All right. Any final thoughts out there, Nahanni?
So you haven't seen Return of the Jedi, right?
Oh, I've seen Return of the Jedi.
Oh, hold on. Let's hold on to that.
But I just wanted to say something. You know, a couple of us have kids in this room.
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
What?
there's my own.
Really?
I know.
No.
It's true. There's my blind spots, but I also find I'm like my daughter's a little older than your kids.
Yeah.
But
They'll catch up, though. They'll catch us. That's
they will
that's
catch
how
up. But
time
I find
works,
as a
right?
parent now, I'm filling in her blind spots, not just my own.
Mhm.
So she's watching things, you know, like she's watching Family Guy and American Dad and Robot Chicken and all this stuff. And there's pop culture references in there she's not getting.
Right.
So-
and we'll never get organic.
Unless I
right?
take that on. Because I made her watch The Shining last week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because that's so often, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I find myself filling in her blind spots.
You've never seen The Shining?
Oh my god!
I saw it when
Are you-
I was 6, and I was scared because all I remember is this kid on a trike going in a hallway, and there were these two girls, and that's all I saw of it, and I screamed.
You peed your pants, didn't
Yeah,
you?
because
Yeah,
it's terrifying,
It is
right?
terrifying.
It's terrifying.
No,
Brian, so
yeah.
Brian, you haven't seen. This is the
No, that's
not a
legit.
joke, you
I've
haven't
never seen The Shining.
Yeah,
You have to see
you know
The
what?
Shining.
Bettany has seen The Shining.
I haven't seen it
And
either.
Bettany hasn't
so
seen lots of stuff, so
I'm in the same boat
She's
as
The
Brian.
Shining up on you.
You
should
should
watch
watch.
it. It's
But
good.
Nahanni, so it's kind of a golden age now because if she doesn't get the joke on the Family Guy, you can just like YouTube that shit.
I know,
Right?
it's perfect. And you know, she YouTubes stuff all the time.
Yeah.
You know, to try and get it. And she sees stuff and she's like, oh, they did that in Family Guy. I'm like, honey, that was first.
Yeah.
That was first.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of fun to fill in her blind spots and recognize, you know.
I'm looking very forward to introducing Clara to a lot of things, but I have to be careful. Clara is my daughter, for those of you who don't know me. She's 3.
The Shining is a little much right now.
We're not going to show her The Shining yet.
I think she'd get it. I think
Look,
she'd get
it's
something
yeah.
out of it.
She brought me. She found a copy of The Matrix on the shelf today, and she
lovely.
was like, "Let's watch this movie." It was like, nah, not quite yet, but anyway. But I have to remember that the movies that I like to her are just going to be old movies, perhaps.
Oh, I've had that.
Like I think about
Yeah.
like if I show her Star Wars from 1977, and she was born in 2011.
Do not underestimate that.
Like I know, but like
Yeah.
yeah, and so if it'd be like if when I was 3 in 1982, someone had showed me a movie from like the 40s, I would have been like, why are we watching this old fucking movie?
yeah.
So she might, you know. So anyway,
I had that with
I just have to not take it personally if she doesn't want to watch it. You know what I mean? If she's like, Dad, I don't want to watch Tron. Like that's just
To be fair,
doesn't
Tron
wanna
is
watch
the
Tron,
worst,
though?
right?
I'll
Yeah,
watch
no,
it for her.
Tron is terrible.
yeah.
Right?
Tron's
Am I right? Right?
Hold your
The
tongue.
room's turning on me.
No,
Tron is
no,
the
no,
worst.
No, that frisbee in the water scene with the energy? No way.
Yes.
No, I'm sorry.
No,
Tron is
no,
great.
Tron is no good.
I've never seen Tron.
Any other any other final thoughts, Drew?
Go watch Tron.
Yeah.
Yeah, go watch Tron.
That's
what
what
are
we're
you
gonna leave it
doing?
here.
Why have you seen Tron? It's so good.
So go watch Tron, everybody. So, everybody out there, what do you think? Do you have a lot of movies in your blind spot that you want to admit to? Let us know here in the comments on this video. Oh, on this podcast.
Close enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can, wherever you're
Use
listening
your
to this,
minds,
you can
though.
leave a comment. You can also go where the real action is on Twitter at CR Podcast. You can send us an email, like a caveman, at info@catlikereflexes.com. And in fact, you can go to our website, www.catlikereflexes.com, and find all the info. And as a matter of fact, starting probably with this week's podcast, we've also we're going to link it on our website. We have a Catlike Reflexes Tumblr. So when we talk about a lot of stuff in the podcast, links to things or references, instead of just having to imagine it in your mind, you can go over to the Tumblr and check it out. So yeah, let us know what you think about blind spots, what your blind spots are, what do you think about them? Maybe you think we're assholes. Let us know.
I think you're assholes.
Yeah.
Why would someone be mean to someone else on the internet, Bryan?
I know. I know.
Never.
All right, are we ready to wrap this up?
Yep.
Yep.
Catlike Reflexes. Not bad.
Let me go. Oh, baby, let me go.
The music at the beginning and ending of this episode of Catlike Reflexes was a song called Let Me Go by Steep. I found their music on jamendo.com, and I recommend that you do too.